What is up, everybody? This is Mario with No Life Gaming, bringing you some more Dead by Daylight content. So, for today's video, we're going to be doing something a little bit differently. Instead of bringing you another Nashi video, or another character video for that matter, I will be instead talking about the status of Dead by Daylight these days. For the topic of discussion, we have two things to talk about: the MMR system and the introduction of crossplay. Dead by Daylight has a ranking system that goes off based how many things you do in your trial. As a killer, you are supposed to damage the generators, hurt the survivors, hook the survivors, etc. While being a survivor yourself, you're gonna have to repair generators, help out your teammates, and last very long in chases, or at least as long as you can. The lowest rank you can achieve is rank 20, and the highest being rank 1. However, with that being the case, the game will still end up pairing killers or survivors with completely different ranks. For example, when you play as a killer as a rank 12 or 15, sometimes the game will throw you into games where you play against survivors that are rank 5 and above. And that will definitely make it a lot harder for the killer to win the trial, usually because those of a higher rank are more experienced. And the problem with that is that most players who wish to play casually or for fun sometimes will be forced to play with their hardest ability to progress and actually achieve a win in the game. Of course, most gamers will say something like you're gonna have to get good or get better and stop complaining, but the problem there is that most people don't have the time to get better or even get good, as most of those who have high ranks. And what can you expect from people who don't have enough time to play the game and actually learn how to play the game? And that's basically the problem with the matchmaking system. It's just unfair at times. I remember being a killer at rank 12 and 14 sometimes, and I'd be paired with the red ranks, and I get so frustrated because they're knocking down generators and I just kept chasing survivors for hours. Not really hours, but you get the idea. And then they would all escape, and at the end of the game it would be like, hey, you did a terrible job. I'm like, okay, that's fine, you know. But as I progressed, obviously I have gotten better because of the time I put into the game. And thankfully now I'm in the red ranks for the most part, but even then it's just like most people don't have the time as much as I do. So in order to combat this problem, the developers decided to bring the MMR system to Dead by Daylight. MMR meaning matchmaking rating. This will make it possible for players to be grouped based on their skill levels rather than the time they put in. And honestly, this is great for the community, you know, being able to play with people of your skills. However, the problem with that at the moment is that everyone gets a fresh start, meaning that everyone starts at a skill rating of 0, and as they play, they will start gathering data on how you play the game. The issue with that is games are going to be random at the start, since the data is not even there to organize anybody into games. So you'll be playing with new players at times, or some very experienced players, or a mixture of both, and sometimes the games just come out wonky. I played with my friends as we are both high experienced players, and sometimes we get into lobbies with other players who don't know what they're doing, and that's fine. However, it's not doing them any favors because they come into a game that's so hard for them to even get a grasp of. And it's because of this difference in skill gap that it will turn most new players away from the game entirely, which will in turn hurt the community overall in terms of decreasing numbers of players. As of today, the MMR system has been turned off, and I think quite quickly at that. And We don't know if it will be returning at all, or if we will be getting another ranking system in place. But I honestly welcome anything that will help balance the game out for everybody. And while we're on the topic of balance, there has been a recent update brought to the Dead by Daylight community, and that is the introduction of crossplay. It is every gamer's hope of having the chance of playing with other players who are on different consoles than their own. Many friends are separated from playing with each other because of this, and it's quite unfortunate, really, that you have to pick a side and play with them only. But with crossplay slowly coming into many games, including Dead by Daylight, the divide is no longer there. With that being the case, there is one major underlying issue with that. With each console, whether it be PlayStation, Xbox, or PC, each have their own ways of delivering a gaming experience. Meaning that some players will have frame rates better than others, or someone have the options of, upgrading their consoles or even PCs. But the elephant in the room is that the biggest advantage goes to the PC players. And I say they have a huge advantage because they have the best frame rate of all the consoles. And the fact that they could make adjustments to their PCs gives them room for so much improvement over the console players. And that alone gives them the advantage when it comes to playing Dead by Daylight. And on top of that, they actually play with mouse and keyboard, which is arguably the best way to play any game because of the ability to move the cursor with a better sensitivity over a controller. It just gives you much more freedom to move around, honestly. However, even with that being the case, I still gave crossplay a chance just to see how it will be playing against other consoles and PC. And let me tell you, it was quite a shock, honestly. My first game I went with was actually against a nurse, and an amazing nurse actually. She took me out of the game quite quickly because she was able to hit all her blinks correctly, and it was just almost impossible to evade her. So with that being the case, it's gonna make trials a lot harder for the survivor and the killer because of the PC advantage that has come to Dead by Daylight. And I'm not here to knock down PC players because we all had to admit that they do have the better optics for gaming versus console players. To put it into perspective, just imagine a PS4 player going against a mobile gamer. You can clearly see the difference, and that's how PC is against console. I don't like saying that PS4 and Xbox is below the PC, but PC is in fact the master race of gaming. But it is what it is for now, and we'll just have to see what the devs will be doing about this. And I'm pretty sure not much, because it's not really something they have control over. I'm just glad that Dead by Daylight came to console, or else I wouldn't have never had the chance to play it. And I'm having a blast with this game. But for the time being, I will be turning crossplay off because it's just not fun to go against players who have an advantage over me, and when it's not even based on skill but actually the console performance. Who knows, maybe there isn't as much as a divide as we think there is, or perhaps there even might be a bigger one we don't know about, but that is what it is for now. If you guys have any comments on this, please be sure to leave a comment below and share your thoughts on the current state of Dead by Daylight. Do you find it fun to play with other consoles? And what is your opinion on the MMR system? How would you go about fixing it, or the matchmaking altogether? All ideas are welcome, of course, but let there be no intention of starting a console war. We are all in the same community after all, and therefore we should come together to resolve this for all. Make sure you stay tuned for future content, because there is a new killer coming out in the near future, and I just can't wait to see who it is and play as that said character. But for now, we must rely on teasers and guess who the next killer is going to be. even if they aren't licensed. Please make sure to leave a like to promote this type of content, and please subscribe if you have not yet, for it works wonders on my confidence. And please make sure to check out my other content that I have made so far. This has been Mario with No Life Gaming, reminding you to stay informed, because knowledge is power. Have a good day, everybody.